Namaste, and I acknowledge the presence of the divine within you. And the topic that we are exploring today is gratitude. And we've all heard this topic, we've all heard about gratitude. In fact, if you have small children in home, we begin teaching them, three magic words, right? Please, sorry, and thank you. And we keep on insisting them to practice this. So when somebody offers the child a toffee, beta, please say thank you. So, and the child starts learning that, if I receive something, this is how I must acknowledge that gift, or I must express, right? So here we are training or conditioning the child to say thank you. But as sadhaks, as spiritual seekers, our ultimate orientation or objective is to arrive at a state where gratefulness is the very essence of our being, where it's a part of our consciousness. So, from starting with the first step of saying thank you or acknowledging the good things in our life, acknowledging the blessings that everyday life has offered. And if we really start looking at it, life offers us with innumerable reasons to be grateful every single day, right? So if we look outside just this hall, looking at these green trees, the sky, this pleasant cold weather, presence of this beautiful gathering here, this blessed hour of the satsang, our loved ones sitting next to us, our friends, our mentors, our teachers, being in the sanidhya, being in the blessed, canopy of a guru. I think these are all tremendous blessings that life has offered to us every single day. And yet, you may be familiar that when we lose a tooth, then our tongue has a tendency to go towards that space. So, it's very natural, it's human tendency to look at the things that are not working for us. So, for instance, we might have a good relationship or a good family, but there's a certain challenge at work, and we do get to have a tendency of, magnifying it out of proportion and then saying, my boss is very strict, or this is not working, that is not working. We do have a tendency to look at that. It's very, very human. And I found this very beautiful story by the mother. It's on virtues. And if you are familiar with mother's literature, you'll find plenty of themes around gratitude. And here in this story, the mother is talking about a beautiful party that's taking place somewhere above in the skies, in the palace of truth. And there are lots of the attendees of this party are, gods and goddesses, not human beings, and they are dressed up in the most sophisticated and fancy of attire. And these are what we call as virtues here on our planet, right? So at first, the mother mentions lots of virtues. She mentions about 11 virtues here. Some of them are, sincerity, then humility, justice, courage, prudence, all of them dressing up and showing up here and finding their gatherings and, meeting one another. After a while, there's another person that enters this palace, and the gatekeepers can't identify her. And she's very humbly dressed up in a frail white garb. And she enters and she stands there for a while, and nobody notices her. After some time, one of those virtues, sincerity, she goes and just checks in on her and asks, I've really not noticed you. Who are you? Okay? And then this virtue says, I'm not surprised that I'm not noticed. My name is gratitude, and people hardly take notice of me. Okay? And the small, beautiful story for the young and old alike by the mother is a good reminder for us that we often take our blessings for granted. Right? So let us take this one moment and explore that within the palace of our heart, inside the palace of our own heart, what are the blessings that we have been taking for granted? Right? A loved one, children in our home, our family members. I think these are the blessings that we most take for granted. Our education, some kind of talent, our ability to, connect with people. I think these are blessings that we don't count. Normally we look at what other people have, or if they have it better than us, right? And I often think about it that the bare essential that a human being requires, here in India we call it, roti, kapda, makan. Right? So roti means a bread to eat and fill our belly. Kapda is clothing, not branded clothing, but a decent, humble clothing that can fill us, comfort us during this season. And a roof over our head. I think these are three amazing blessings that we all have. And probably we feel entitled towards these. We feel that, life owes us. This is a bare minimum that life owes us. And even Abraham Maslow calls these physiological needs. So these are some needs that are already fulfilled without us doing much. And we can start by feeling, or acknowledging, being thankful towards these bare blessings that life has at, our disposal. And just like the bhajan that Mithu ma'am sang, that without the kripa of a guru or without the kripa of the divine, hriday ke kapat band, jo kapat hai wo nahi khulte, which means that, it is divine grace that, helps us open our heart and we start looking at all of these blessings. And the mother has defined gratitude in a very beautiful way, and I'd like to share that with you. So, she says that gratitude is the humble and loving recognition of the grace received from the divine. So, loving and humble recognition. So, just acknowledging with great humility that whatever we have, we're not entitled to it. And yet life has generously showered these blessings upon us. The water we drink, the air that we breathe, the food that we get, the laughter of children around us, These are, I think, priceless blessings that we have. And during the good times, it's really easy for us to practice gratitude. And I think when we practice it during our good times, we make it an intentional habit to cultivate this garden of gratitude every single moment, every single day, is when during the tough times, so-called tough times, that's when, we will be able to be more resilient and patient and more humble, and we might be able to look in a realistic manner that this difficult experience, this tough time, is here to help me evolve or help me grow. Although I can say this with my own personal experience, that actually when we do face those tough times, we don't remember these, pearls of wisdom. It's not easy to acknowledge that, I can feel so grateful and things are happening for the greater good. But I'm learning as a seeker that the more grateful we are during our good times, it becomes more natural for us to hold on to this and to count our blessings during the times that are most testing or trying for us. And I'm also learning that these trying or tough times also are helping us deal with the consequences of our prarabdha or our karmas. So either way, it's a win for us, right? So the good times, those are the blessings, and the tough times, those are the lessons. They teach us to evolve, right? How to become wiser or more humble or more grounded. And we're all experiencing the consequences of our destiny. I think as spiritual sadhaks, we all can resonate with this. So it is a choice that we consciously can make, whether we would like to grumble or whether we would like to be more grateful and acknowledge whatever the divine is offering to us with grace, right? So grumble or gratitude, it's a choice that we can make, right? And I'd also like to share another small story that I had read a few years back. And here two friends meet at a school reunion after several years, and they talk about what they are doing in their life. So both of them share how successful they are. And one of them, let's call her Ragini. Okay, so she says, I'm currently pursuing journalism, and I have a great career, but there was this one teacher who had instilled in me a love for language, and I never had believed that I would ever be able to pursue something good in my life or something worthwhile in my life. And then this other friend asks her, does your teacher know that this is what you feel about her, or that you're doing so good in your life? And then Ragini says, no, she's not aware. And then this friend encourages her to write a letter to her teacher. And then Ragini writes her the letter and says, dear ma'am, I'm putting up in this city, and I'm currently working as a journaling, in this profile. And I really want to let you know that you were the first person who had believed in my potential or ability to be able to do well in this particular field. You had taught me such amazing poetry, and I really remember you and thank you for all my heart for being there for me. And the teacher has received this letter, and few days later Ragini receives a response from this teacher. And it says, my dear Ragini, it's a cold, chilly, day here where I'm living, something similar to the Delhi winters. I think it's really cold here. And I'm all alone in my little home with nobody to talk to and nobody around me. And your letter comes as a ray of warm sunshine in my life. Okay, it's probably the first note of warmth I have heard in several years, right? And it fills my heart with great sunshine, warmth, and all of that. I'm really grateful that you feel this way, okay? So my intent of sharing this story here with you is, there might have been countless blessings in the form of people in our life who have supported us during a difficult time, or who have been there with us since our childhood. And we might feel grateful to them, but they might not be aware about that. And this could be a reminder to us to acknowledge it to the other person, if possible. If they are alive and present in our life, if we have access to them, we can try reaching out just to tell them that, this is how you had played a role in my life. And I really acknowledge and value you for that contribution. And why we are doing this is not for the other person, but we are doing this to expand our own consciousness. So whenever we engage in positive virtues like gratitude, love, prayerfulness, forgiveness, it helps us melt our own self identity, melt our um, the identity that we so strongly hold on to as just one entity. So it melts that barrier and helps us expand our consciousness to other human beings. And eventually we can start feeling that kind of gratitude and love towards the entire existence. That's our intent as a seeker, right? And when I look at my own life, I really acknowledge the presence of several such teachers from my own childhood. I was a very shy child, and I was someone who would hide myself behind the pillar whenever it came to, coming on the stage or speaking something. And I had this one teacher who really believed in me and who nurtured me and encouraged me to come and speak. And probably the one big reason that I'm sitting here and speaking in front of you, I definitely owe it to that one teacher who had sowed that seed. And in the course of our life, we find several such mentors, teachers, guru, friends, spiritual masters. And if at all we do, I think we are really very blessed. We are very, very fortunate. And spiritual growth is not a one person thing, We keep on learning something from everyone if we open our hearts to look at that. So, gratitude is not specific to a certain instance or a certain activity, although this is a beginning, right? I mean, I also read another beautiful poem. It's also used as a form of prayer, and I encourage my students to, remind themselves of this. That thank you, God, for all that I have today. And when I look at, the sink of dirty dishes, it's a sign that I have had plenty of food to eat. Or I've had people at my home that I could sit and enjoy my meal with, right? So I think instead of looking at that pile of dishes, as something unwanted, I could shift my perspective to understanding that when I enjoy this hearty meal together with my loved ones, when I cook homemade food with great love, when I'm eating something nutritious, a sink of dishes is a byproduct as a result, and it's my desire that we serve our food in clean dishes. So, washing it and keeping it ready for my next meal to be enjoyed with my family, it's all a cycle, then it doesn't appear to be as intimidating, right? Similarly, when laundry might be a daunting task, household chores are a daunting task for a lot of us, for all of us actually. But when you look at the pile of dirty laundry, it's a good reminder that we have good clothing to wear and to cover ourselves with, right? And in the morning when you go to make the bed and it's looking so dirty, and your child might not fold it or something like that, but those unmade beds are a reminder that you slept with so much warmth and fulfillment last night, right? And scattered toys around, I think as parents we get to see that sometimes, right? But and I do get to see that. I have a young, very active little one, and it sometimes I do feel irritated. I'm not infallible. It's not easy to be perfect all the time. But sometimes when I'm putting it up or when I'm teaching her to clean the mess that she has created with all her artwork, etc., I think I constantly try to remind myself that It's a blessing to have a healthy, active child in the home who is filling my life with so much of laughter and warmth. And it's such a great joy to see her blooming and, pursuing all of this with such beauty, right? So then those seemingly daunting, overwhelming tasks might not overwhelm us, but might give us the perspective that it is indeed a blessing to be able to do all of this. And here I'd also like to remind that there is a difference between genuine gratitude and forced optimism. Okay, we might have heard about the Pollyanna syndrome, which means that, look to the brighter side of things always. Okay, and I do have the fortune and blessing of working as a counseling psychologist in my professional practice, and I'd like to share here that by gratitude we do not mean toxic positivity or forced positivity, or dismiss the actual impact of a negative event or a disturbing trying time. So when a situation is offering us grief and sadness, let us own it. Let us acknowledge that feeling, because that also has a valuable purpose in our life, right? So gratitude does not mean simply dismissing a negative experience. Losing a loved one, I think it is an experience which is very difficult for many of us, and I think that calls us to grieve for that moment. We need to heal from that experience as well. So we're not talking about denial, or we're not talking about forcing unrealistic optimism. And sometimes if somebody is sharing with us that things are not going on well in their life, I think we might have a tendency to be a savior or to help them or to support them, and we unknowingly try to tell them, Arey, that's totally okay, you don't know, others have it worse probably, or don't worry, this will go away, I also had it. So instead of invalidating that feeling, we can just take a pause, listen to them, acknowledge and validate, and we can just probably try telling them, I know you got this, you will be able to deal with this. And if you need my support or help, I'm there. Just let me know. I think that is a better way than trying to force our positivity on that person, right? So, a genuine gratitude is the heartfelt acknowledgement or recognition of all the experiences, all the spectrum of experiences that life brings before us, not just the good side. And the more we evolve as sadhaks, we begin to acknowledge that there is nothing actually good, nothing actually bad. These are tags that we have created here in this life. Everything has some value to add in our life, right? So the litmus test here of a grateful heart would be feeling contented, of a feeling of sukoon that we call, right? And gratitude is a concept, it's a term that you will find everywhere in all cultures. All the practices in spirituality or religious practices have. So there are different terms that you might have heard, thank you, danke, and shukran. Or Hindi mein, I think Mithu ma'am had used that word, kritagyata, anugrah. These are the terms that we use to describe gratitude. And I think it's an attribute that we can consciously try working towards. And as spiritual sadhaks, we can acknowledge that gratitude is the cornerstone of, towards our own spiritual awakening, and the recognition of the grace that the divine has offered before us. And here I would like to share with you that the Bhagavad Gita, the 11th Adhyaya in the Bhagavad Gita has, when Lord Shri Krishna shows his Virat Roop before Arjun. And this is what the mother has been telling us, the recognition of the offering of the divine. Okay, so when you actually see the manifestation of the divine, when Arjuna is actually looking at the Virat Roop, that is the most, concentrated form of the blessing of the divine, getting to see that vision from Sri Krishna. So the 11th Adhyay has beautiful, humbling prayers of gratitude from Arjuna towards Sri Krishna. And it's a worthwhile read for us as spiritual seekers. And I'd like to share just one or two of those verses with you. And even if we don't understand the meaning, I think they mean that, you are the only worthwhile presence, worth knowing. You are the ultimate, you are the divine, the beginning and the end. Surya, Chandrama, everything is inside you, So I'm going to just share two of these verses with you. And here Arjun says, Tvamaksharam paramam veditavyam Tvamasya vishwasya param nidhanam Tvamavyaya shashvata dharmagopta Sanatanastvam purusho mato me Shri Krishna Govind Hari Murari He Nath Narayan Vasudeva. And another verse from this is Tvameva Mata Cha Pita Tvameva Tvameva Bandhuscha Sakha Tvameva Tvameva Vedya Dravidam Tvameva Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva Shri Krishna Govind Hari Murari He Nath Narayan Vasudeva. So, and here Arjun says that, you are my everything. Mama Deva Deva, Tvameva Sarvam, Mama Deva Deva. And when we begin with looking at gratitude in these small little things, we will be able to develop the eye of looking at the divine in every single thing in life, right? And I would like to share a few lines by the mother on gratitude, and I urge you to reflect on these lines as I read. So the mother says, the more grateful we are, the happier we shall be. And there's nothing which gives us a joy equal to that of gratitude. One hears a bird sing, sees a lovely flower, looks at a lovely child, observes an act of generosity, reads a beautiful sentence, looks at the setting sun. And no matter what, suddenly this comes to you. This kind of emotion, indeed so deep, so intense, that the world manifests the divine. And the mother also shares a lot of ways in which we can cultivate this gratitude within us. By prayer, by being happy, by overcoming egoism, by identifying ourselves with the divine, by performing whatever we are doing as a very sacred, consecrated act, and by absolute trust in the divine grace. And I'd like us to take a few minutes to practice a small gratitude meditation. So you could be seated comfortably, you could just relax, you could close your eyes, you could fold your hands, or keep your hands in whatever way that feels comfortable to you. Take a few deep breaths. And feel this relaxation inside you. Take a few more deep breaths and bring yourself here into this moment. Now I invite you to remember or think about someone or something that you are grateful for. It could be an aspect of your life, a person, a movement of simple beauty that you have experienced. Hold on to this and feel the warmth of gratitude filling inside your heart as you remember this blessing. Now from here, let us widen our gratitude and think of the many gifts that life has given to you. Good health, loved ones, experiences, every person, every moment, the difficult experiences that have taught you some lessons. All of this is a gift to you from the divine. It has shaped you into the you that you are today. Take a few deep breaths. And now let us expand this feeling of gratitude towards the love and grace from divine with every breath, with every thought, with every prayer. May I feel in alignment with this divine energy. And may I carry this feeling of gratitude within my heart wherever I go. Take a few more deep breaths. And you can come back here into this moment. You can open your eyes. And let this sink in, let this feeling soak inside you. You could try practicing this small gratitude meditation on a regular basis. You could count your blessings every day before bedtime or in the morning when you wake up or whenever you remember. And there are many other ways in which we can cultivate gratitude in our life. And we can connect later at another time to discuss that and share about that. And I'd like to wrap up today's talk here on gratitude with this small, beautiful, heart-touching anecdote that I had read some years back. And you might be familiar with the story of Ramayana. If you might have read the story of Ramayana. And finally, when Lord Ram wins over Lanka, defeats Ravan, brings Sita back along with him. And then there is a small prasang, this small anecdote, where Lord Ram, the figure of our reverence, is expressing his gratitude towards Hanuman before his brother Bharat. So Ramji and Bharat are together, and Ram is describing all the things that Hanuman has done. And it's a beautiful, beautiful poetry, beautiful prayer by Tulsidas. And Here Ramji says, my dear brother Bharat, I can never free myself from the debts that this Hanuman has, uh, filled me with. I'm totally indebted to Hanuman. And I'd like to share just one small line from this beautiful poetry, and I'd like to, wrap today's talk here on this note. So Ramji says Hanuman that, says Bharat, that Hanuman had crossed miles of, ocean to go to Lanka, and he brought Sita back. And yet there is no Garab or Man inside his heart. So let us listen to these lines and feel the spirit of gratitude that Ram has towards Hanuman. हम नाही कपीसों उरेन हम नाही. Kapi means monkey, and Urin means I cannot, I cannot free myself of the debt that the monkey, that the Hanuman has on me. Okay, so 100 योजन मर्याद सिंधु की, 100 योजन मर्याद सिंधु की, लांघ गयो पल माही, लांघ गयो पल माही, लंका जाय सिया सुधिलायो, लंका जाय सिया सुधिलायो, गर्भ नहीं मन माही, भरत भाई कपीसों उरेन हम नाही, भरत भाई कपीसों उरेन हम नाही. So may we hold on to the spirit of gratefulness, and may we look at everything that comes from life as divine grace, as divine blessings. And I'd like to be grateful to all of you here to listen to me with so much of love, so much of devotion, so much of kindness and compassion. Thank you.